Elisa.
Hello,
Jacob.
my name is
Mike. Pleased to meet you. Jacob.
I'm
Zach.
Hello, my name is Elisa.
Mike. Pleased to meet you.
Elisa.
Dave.
I'm Tiana.
Pleased to meet you.
I'm Tiana.
Dave. Nice to meet you.
Throwing stuff around. You got the
Doing the test.
So, hello everybody, my name's Elisa, and to start off, I'm going to be telling you kind of a little bit of background. So, as abrupt as it may be to start off with, my dad has a visual disability, and the reason I'm starting off with that is to let you know that my dad is the one who kind of got me on the pathway to start enjoying games and technology as a whole, but over the years, as his visual disability's gotten worse, it's been harder for us to have that kind of connection between each other because we have to find different softwares that are accessible to him to create the games to make the games more accessible and easier for him to understand, therefore causing a whole bunch of chaos between us trying to figure out how to play games together.
Hello, we are Micro Punch Games, and we are planning on creating auditory-based games for people with visual disabilities, so that way everyone could be able to enjoy games.
So with that being said, hello, my name's Elisa Eversole and I'm the CEO.
I'm Tiana Mazzarella, and I'm the CMO.
And I'm Jacob Reba, and I'm the CFO.
And today, Ben Lake couldn't join us because he got his wisdom teeth removed, so we'll keep him in our thoughts.
So, as a bit of an explanation for our actual product, I'm going to start off a little unorthodox. Can I ask the four judges to close your eyes and place your hands on the table in front of you? So it's just going to be kind of a story to get you into what it'll feel like to play one of our games. So you wake up and you realize that you're on a beach, a tropical beach. You see behind you is a thick forest, too thick to see through. There are two paths leading into the forest, one to the right and one to the left. Tap the table with the corresponding hand to pick your path. Great. As you start to walk down the path, the forest starts to thin out. You start to see all the wildlife that the island really has to offer. You see birds, you see butterflies, you see all sorts of little creatures running around. And a little bit further down the path, you see a shadow. It's coming towards you pretty quick, and faster, and faster, and faster. And as the sun beams off of it, you see that it's a massive leopard. Quick, rapid tap the table to run away. All right. So that's really just an example of what it would feel like to play one of our games. Oh, you guys can open your eyes now. Sorry. That's really what it feels like to rely only on your audio abilities, so you're just listening to the story and having to progress through just for that.
So with that, we have a quick trailer right here. Or we must request access to play our trailer right now. Yeah, well, anyways, with this trailer, it's basically a narration of how an example of one of our games are going to be so that you can understand how the story will be told with sound effects playing around you and a narrator telling you what's happening throughout the story so you can understand what to do as you go along to make your decisions. For example, the story would kind of be told just how Jacob explained to you guys before, but there would be also sound effects in the background to really immerse your imagination in these games to really get a hold of what you're trying to visualize.
So the problem we're trying to solve is that a lot of video games nowadays rely purely on visual mechanics. So you have to watch something on the screen or whatever you're viewing with and react on the controller. We want to change that. We want to make games that all you need is your ears. All you need is to be able to listen and react on the screen in front of you. The screen will be completely black and you'll just be tapping on it. A lot of games nowadays have difficult mechanics or button combinations where you need to tap 3 or 4 buttons at the same time, or they're called quick time events where you need to rapid tap different buttons in succession to complete part of the story. Also, a lot of games nowadays just have boring storylines where you get into it at the beginning and then as the game keeps going, you kind of lose interest in it and it's not as entertaining and not as captive.
We are helping impaired gamers since we want everyone to be able to enjoy our games. We are helping board gamers since we want everyone to be able to have fun. And last but not least, we are helping anyone who would like to play games.
So to move on to our unique value proposition and what makes us different from our competitors such as Epic Games or Rockstar Games or any other game development company, we're planning to create continuous titles. So with a lot of gaming companies, what they do is they'll release a title, make you wait a long time before another one comes out or even think of producing another one. However, once we produce a title and let it out into the market, our instant idea for the next thing to do is to create another game so that we always have new options for our users to play and delve into. Next, we want to have a large community outreach with our business. So by that, we want to have a direct link of communication between us and our users so that we can understand what they want, how they want it, and when they want it a lot more efficiently than other companies tend to do. Finally, we plan to utilize players' imagination more than ever before by creating our games solely based off of their imagination. And with this, what will happen is each time a person plays or each person that plays will have a unique experience with each game. Because, for example, if telling someone to imagine a tree, one person might imagine a palm tree while another person might imagine a pine tree. It's completely unique to each user and how they choose to visualize it while playing along.
So now moving on to our total addressable market and serviceable addressable market, or TAM and SAM. So to start off with our total addressable market, we kind of wanted a broad number to work with, so we started with the total amount of people in the United States that play video games, or gamers. That rounds out to about 211 million separate gamers. So that's about 64% of the US population. So if we know from GameAccessibility.com that 2.6% of people that play video games have some form of visual disability, we can come to the conclusion that there are about 5,486,000 visually impaired gamers in the United States. Now for our serviceable addressable market, we wanted to narrow it down to a market that we could realistically work with. So we decided to go with the Fresno County. With a current population of about 900 million people, 64% of that would be about 633,123 people. 2.6% of that number would be about 12,662, which would be the total amount of people in Fresno that play video games while having a visual disability. At about 99 cents for a unit price, that rounds us out to about 12,535 of potential revenue.
And with that being said, how exactly do we plan to reach out our product? How do we plan to get people to know about it? To start off, we'll be using online forums. Now, with a bit of research done, we found out that a lot of people with visual disabilities who are involved in gaming and technology tend to communicate with each other through online forums in order to let each other know what does and doesn't work and what is and isn't easy to use. With that, it'll be direct communication between us and our users. It'll be a large audience of people to be able to reach. It'll be easy to use, and for us, it'll be free to advertise on there. Now, for actual advertising and commercials, we plan to do it all based on audio places, such as on the radio stations, such as in videos, such as in commercials on TV. That way, our users will be able to hear about our product rather than having to rely on seeing an advertisement on a website. We'll also use commercials and endorsements in order to get our product out there and get people to start talking about it a lot more so that people can understand and hear about from whoever and wherever about our business. Now, this is our timeline for this MVP. Basically, we started off with the creation of our business and creation of this MVP. That's taken us about 3 weeks to finally get all of our information sorted and collected so that we can all have it right here, easy for you guys to understand. Next, to move on to testing, we did take some surveys around asking people what they think about our business idea and what they think would be a good idea for it. Now, a majority of people, if not all of them, had said that they believe that this would be a good idea to put out into our community for people to like and use a lot, that took us about 2 weeks to finally get all of our results in and organized together. And finally, to create an actual product to put out into our market will take us from about now till the end of the year. So about 3 to 4 months to finally get for the most part, fully running and functioning product. And with all that being said, thank you, and we're now open for any questions, comments, or concerns that you may have.
First of all,
I thought you said start down there.
oh, we can definitely start here. All right. Okay, so I have a few questions. I'll start from the bottom up, just because it may be fresher for you to answer. So, your audience. How do you know, who are you getting to test your games?
So-
Do you have an audience of people with visual impairments to do testing?
Actually, with that, we do, like I said before in the beginning, my dad has a visual disability, so he's the reason we know about these online forums and stuff like that. So he's been asking all of his friends and people he communicates with there on about whether or not they'd be interested in helping be a guinea pig for us, and a lot of the results that we've gotten have been positive about being involved.
Just a part of that question, about what's his age?
My dad's 42.
So he's in his 40 gaming. That's all I have.
Can you go back to the slide where you had the amount of people that rotate right there? So you have 12,662, and you're concentrating on this area mainly, okay? I guess my question for you would be, I mean, you're kind of honing in on a particular visual impaired group. Is there any other groups that would also benefit that maybe aren't visually impaired, but maybe technology impaired, older, like me, that you could adjust a different type of program to? Because I mean, that's a pretty small audience.
Yeah.
And you'd have to be very successful, and financially if you got every one of those, it's only, you got a limit. So have you thought about going beyond where you offer different things to other groups that wouldn't change your technology really much at all, but it might apply to somebody else?
I don't think we've completely discussed about different audiences separated, but it's something we'll take into consideration.
Okay. I had a similar question as what he had as far as, I think it's critical that you, in your testing, that you do test with different age groups, because that's gonna give you a better product, because it's gonna, what pleases your dad may be different to somebody that's 17, and somebody different that's 65. So, just take that in consideration as well.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I've got.
So really quickly back to this slide. Is your potential revenue based on your annual potential revenue? And is that before or after your startup cost?
Oh, we actually, yes. So really, it's hard to pinpoint a time period that we can expect sales to increase, especially with something where our software and the product that we're selling is all on the internet and can be accessible from anywhere by anyone. So we haven't really thought about like annually how much we expect to raise,
Okay.
but we definitely will as we move further into the phase of really working on our product and getting an actual thing out there to sell. We'll
Right.
definitely start thinking about that more.
Absolutely. And I think part of my question, which is similar to my colleagues down here at the table. First of all, I like the intro. I like the personalization, if you will. That's important. So telling a story is very important just in terms of pitch, and when you're looking for investors and your return on investment, you want to make sure that you're investing in people as well as ideas. That's important. So I did like that, and walking us down potentially a visual, right, of what that looks like. But again, I wonder about, do you have age-appropriate games? So as someone who might be visually impaired as a 3 or 4-year-old, they may look at gaming as educational in value, or parents may. So have you looked at a variety of different age groups? Because obviously, gaming as a whole, I mean, there are a lot of gamers. So how do you define gamers, first of all, on this slide?
Really, it's the amount of different people in the U.S. that frequently play video games, whether it's on a console or on a computer or on their phone.
So, okay, so if I play solitaire, am I a gamer?
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
You play a game on your
Just
phone?
wondered, right?
Yeah.
So have you thought about, like, age appropriateness? So what is appropriate for a 3 to 5-year-old who is wanting to deal with being potentially visually impaired, or the person who is in an accident who suddenly becomes visually impaired? So how do you differentiate, or do you have plans, or have you talked about that?
So, really, when it gets down to like the younger age and staying to a more educational sense, we haven't really thought of that. We've more been focusing on the entertainment value of the games rather than like teaching the audience.
Okay.
But that is definitely something to think about, especially with a younger audience that we're trying to, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
I thought, first of all, you guys did a very good job presenting. I like the teamwork because when you come together, it's obvious that as CEO, and this problem comes from something that you're providing a solution because of your father, but the buy-ins here with the team, and that's huge in corporate America, like to be in any sort of thing and give up what your dream is or your thing is for somebody else's to come alongside it and make it work great. So I thought you guys did great on that. Great confidence in your pitch, and I know there's a lot to it. A couple, opportunities for growth I would mention. One, Mike down here was talking about why you focused on Fresno County, and so you could just feel peaceful while we tell you some of these things. They're going to help you. When you're dealing with a world where everything's transferred instantaneously by internet, there's not a reason to be geographically confined. And so when Mike's bringing that up, what he's trying to say is that if you're going to throw a hook and a worm into a body of water, why not throw it in one that has a lot of fish in it? Because when you put it down to 12,662, you don't know how many might buy it. Even though that's a good number, it appears to me that you may have accomplished your SAM and your TAM for your teacher and for the group and for Incubator EDU, but you didn't do it for the business. And so do it for the business. Do it in a way that is going to net you the gain that you need. This has to be scalable, and it has to be able to go far and wide with no parameters and no borders. It has to be thought of for other languages. It has to be thought of for... It has to go as far as possible if it's going to be viable. Otherwise, it'll just be another thing that was talked about. One good thing about that, though, is if it doesn't succeed as this and you aren't able to overcome all those different limiting factors, you're still learning a tremendous amount by putting it all together. The exercise isn't wasted, and I don't want to see you like lose heart and be downtrodden about it. Go, keep going, but take the criticisms as help to find this is why they're saying that, this is what we can do with that. And on your facts, like when you pull in like a 64%, she was saying, where did you get that? What does that mean if I had a solitaire, is that the same? And then they were talking about small children. Well, yeah, you want to hit every audience you can. If your focus is visually impaired, if that's your focus, then go as broad as you can within visual impairment, all the way with everything you can do with it, and focus on that. And the only other thing I was going to say is, I didn't hear, maybe I missed it, but I didn't hear you bring up your due diligence in any competition or competitive products out there like this. And I think that you probably should really delve into that. Maybe I missed it. I don't know.
No, that was, when we cycled back around to me, that was one of my questions. Who are your competitors? Or who else is doing this?
You don't have to know this second, but you
Yeah.
need to know before you ever launch. You need to know, because things happen so fast that this very minute while we're talking, somebody can be working on something just like this, and it can pop on the scene before you get yours out the door. You don't want that to crush you, but the more application you have, the more poignancy you have in the result, you'll be the superpower. They'll be following you, even if you come out after them. But you need to know if they're out there, who they are, what they're doing. And you do it stealthily, so you're not triggering an idea with some think tank that's working on it,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's like, how was
So I
that?
had a few more too. One of my questions was, I like your presentation, how you presented, how well you know your product, and I think, first of all, let me say that I'm a local entrepreneur, a business owner, I understand games. So I am here because I am a local entrepreneur, I understand business models and things like that. So you really don't know who we are, but so this I get. And I think I get that you're starting off with this number, 12,000, because you're trying to understand your product, and if you can understand this number, then you can grow beyond that number. However, you're releasing a digital services product, so you have no border limits. There's no reason for you to not go as big as you want when you do a digital release. There's no reason to, you're not going to be able to control that it's only going to happen in this market if it's a downloadable piece. I have a list of notes afterwards just for you to kind of take a look at and some things to think about. Well, that was one thing to think about that you don't, I agree, you may not have to start as small as that. How are you generating revenue again? Because I saw it's free for the player, ads. Is that really primarily it?
Well, the game itself, where we got this from is the average unit price for a mobile game is about 99 cents.
Okay.
So we were thinking about selling it for 99 cents on the
Okay,
App
so
Store.
I have that written down.
So a 99-cent price.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I think this is probably, I have a few things that are pretty big. So there's people with visual impairments, because this is a group that I started here in Fresno. We were looking at starting a group for web developers and coders who are creating content for visually impaired people. How else do they communicate? You said they they just communicate through forums, but are there other ways that they communicate besides that? To spread the word for you, I guess.
Well, according to my dad, a large way that they do communicate is through online forums. Well, and with that, there are multiple different kinds of ones they can join and be a part of. However, two other large forms of social media that they use is mostly Facebook and Twitter, because those are the easiest ones for them to get a hold of and be able to use and operate. So with our social media, we'll also use that to reach out to users and just spread the word.
And what's the age of your target audience? So what's the age that you're trying to target? Because dad may not be in your target range. So what's your target range for your audience?
So the majority group of people that we're really trying to target is people our age, like teenagers with these visual disabilities that are already into playing video games on a regular basis. So really like 13 to 17.
Okay, so you need to know the numbers of those people, those students who are impaired. And their name, Mike or Jacob?
Jacob.
Okay, all right, Jacob. All right, so
Basically.
yeah, I have a few more, but I'll pass that on.
Okay. Is there going to be an annual subscription?
Probably not. It's probably going to be a one-time purchase for the game. But if we do release like a second game, a third game, they will also, like, you don't just
You
get...
may give that some thought, because what that does is bring in annual revenue. You know, you can count on, if you've got 1,000 people that subscribe to this, you've got 1,000 whatever dollars, whatever it may be, and that's your revenue that you need to continue growing your product. If you just count on sales alone, and you've got a smaller target, that would help your revenue stream a lot.
For sure, yeah.
And also, going back to getting your name out and your product out, I hope you also look at organizations such as like the American Eye Institute, those kind of things, because that's all they're involved with. So if you can get in with them and offer your product to their clients, you're talking about, again, globally, it just expands, huge. And then my last question is, how often is your plan for reevaluating progress in market changes? And once you start this up, how often are you going to set aside time to reevaluate the market change and your product?
We haven't really thought about that yet, per se. Definitely in the video game market, though, it does fluctuate a lot, depending on like what's trending. So it's definitely something that we will need to maintain in the future.
It's critical for a business.
Yeah.
So on your timeline, am I correct when you said you've been, right, like for 3 weeks?
For
Creation.
up until, for the amount of time it's taken us to create solely just this MVP, it's taken us about 3 weeks. And then on a different time scale, it took us about 3 weeks to finally collectively decide on an idea of something that we want to pursue. So both essentially did take 3 weeks, so yeah.
So I just raised this, 6 weeks is a very long period of time, so I applaud you, right, over the fact that it's only taken 6 weeks, right? So I just wanted to clarify when you said, right, 3 weeks, I was like, wow, 3 weeks, right? I have my own teenagers. I'm like, I don't know if they could do this in 3 weeks, so I applaud you for that. Just in terms of your timeline. So I know we're asking a lot of questions and giving you a lot of feedback, but knowing that it's been really a very short amount of time in terms of coming forward, and it's very impressive what you've come up with in the last 3 weeks, right? So
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to tag on to that a little bit. It's this creative muscle that you're getting to flex and use and try in this 6-week, conceptually 3 weeks, and then fleshing this out in 3 weeks, 6 weeks. It's really good, and you don't ever want to get stuck on something. If you watch Shark Tank or you watch any of these other types of things where people are presenting ideas, one of their biggest problems is they get it becomes their baby. It's their baby, man, and don't hurt my baby, don't mess with my baby. You got to know when to let something go and go with something else. If you created something in 6 weeks that holds you for the rest of your life locked to it, and that 6 weeks wasn't the best 6 weeks you ever had in creativity, you might kick yourself because you want an out plan. You want to make some money on the sale and go on to something else. So remember, and I don't mean this bad of the school or anything else, remember they're teaching you overview. They're teaching you I'm not trying to shoot this idea in the head, I'm just saying the overview is the way you create the next one and the next one and the next one. You want to be an entrepreneur, then you're going to be somebody that can create and put something out, and you can know when to stop it, know when to start it, know when it can expand, know when it's done. And so don't take it so personal if you're trying to find your way through that. I think it's a very good exercise, and you guys are doing great with it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I have one last thing to add here, a couple last things. Something to think about, you may not know the answers to this yet. One of your business models is to continue to make more games and games and games and games and games. I'm hoping that you consider taking the current games that you make and make them better, expand the stories, add more features, add more options. Maybe I'm not just taking 2 paths. Maybe there's 3 paths and another one. Open up a brand new path and a current story. Maybe I can actually go to the ocean and try to get away. And what happens if I actually try to get away from the island?
Sharky.
So, so not necessarily that you'd have to crank out game after game after game after game, but expand on the games you've already created. And as you probably already know, create some DLCs and some other content. Just something to think about, because you can generate more revenue from the same game as opposed to trying to constantly crank out new content. I really wanted to know what people with visual disabilities, what other games are they already playing? So who is your competition? Try to find out who that is unless you already know. These are just kind of things for you to think about. But one question I'm hoping that you can answer, the hardware. So I'm closing my eyes, I'm banking on a table. What is the hardware? I saw the Super Bowl commercial. I know Microsoft is coming out with a pad that people with disabilities can play with. What's the hardware like? I close my eyes, I bang on a table, but I still can't visualize what am I playing with?
Your cell phone. It's a mobile game.
Okay, so that's when we couldn't see the video. We couldn't.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So cell phone or tablet
Yeah. Yes.
or a laptop. A lot of those can fold into tablet
Touch
mode.
screen. Basically, anything with a touch screen, because it's for the game itself. It's for the most part just going to be a black screen. There might be a background with designs,
Okay.
and you're just tapping different sections of the screen to continue in the story.
All right. So I'm not deaf, right? Because I'm auditorily listening. How do I know where to tap on the screen? So this is where you may want to consider potentially some screen overlays, something I can feel tactily to know where to tap on the screen with holes to top hole here, so I know where to punch on the screen, but how do I know where to tap on the screen?
So, for example, with the left and right path, it would basically be tap the left side or the right side of the screen.
And you'll make that big enough for me to, no matter where I type, tap on the left or right? Okay.
Yeah, or it'll be in certain situations where it'll be tap once anywhere on the screen to do this option, or tap twice to go with the second option. So no matter where you press on the screen, either way it'll be easy for someone to be able to guide through.
Could you add verbal commands to that?
I believe that's something that we could look into too.
So that, it asks you a question and you answer it, because depending on how impaired you are, that may be, you're just opening another avenue for those that are even more impaired.
I think Jacob did that by telling us the story, because your story
There's like the
towards you.
storyline, and then there's the instructions on what
Right.
you need to do to move on.
You did a good job narrating me through the jungle, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
That was good, that was good.
Thank you.
All right, guys, thank you.
Thank you.
Great job.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. You too. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent job.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yes.
Good job.